So my initial videos were talking about obviously concentrating on putting the gimbal on a motorbike, but I'm just going to do a quick overview of the gimbal itself, what you get in the box and all the bits and pieces, maybe a bit of an operation stuff, and then mounting and a bit about that, and I'll try and talk about what I think are the elephants in the room. So like most of the things, I can never wait to set up a camera and stuff and film it before I unbox it, so it's all been out of the box for a while now. Box, you get a bag, a fairly decent bag with cutouts for the bits to go in, and a pocket at the top. So that's the bag you get. Not a bad bit of kit. Go on. You get instructions, obviously, which I didn't read, and a warranty card. Then you get the bits and pieces itself. So we get the gimbal itself. We get a battery charger and 4 batteries. You can only see 2 there, but obviously two are in the gimbal. You unscrew that there, pull that out, and the batteries go in there. So they're in there already. So that's your battery charger. And you get a lead because it's USB for there. Allen key and 6 teeny tiny screws. 2 little brackets that take the GoPro mount. You get a USB connector. You get a USB to phono, and you get a USB to what is a power socket for the gimbal, and I'll talk about that in a sec. You get some GoPro pads, and you get the connector bar to connect the GoPro, and you also get some extending threads if you've got a GoPro with a battery or screen on the back of it. So that's what you get in the box. Yeah. Oh, sorry, and this rubber thing, which or foam thing, which I'll tell you about in a second. So that's what you get in the box. So mounting now. So here's the gimbal. You've got the socket here, which is where the GoPro is going to fit into this socket here. Now the instructions say, and probably the best way, the most secure way, is to have the GoPro so it sits in there with the lens closest to the actual to this part of the gimbal. Because if you do that, when you attach the bar and screw it into it, the bar is going to form part of the securing mechanism with the lens. So if it's all secure, all tight, the lens is playing its part to keep the GoPro in the harness. If you put it in the other way, which says you can do that, I don't think it will, but it could slip out. The issue, the first elephant in the room, is when you've done that, when you get back from whatever you're doing with the GoPro, you have to take it off, because that's where your charging point and your SD card is. So if you can't leave it on to get your footage off. So that's the first, I suppose, what I consider elephant in the room. Yeah, so camera in place, match up the two holes and screw it into place. Make sure before you do this it's obviously fully charged and you've got an SD card in it. So that's it attached. Now the weight of the camera in the gimbal, yeah, means that when you turn it on, it's going to balance itself based on the weight of the camera. Yeah, so it's doing its bits and pieces with the camera on. If you turn it on without the camera on, it goes a bit mad because it's trying to balance itself without a camera. So yeah, that's fitting the camera. So now with camera fitted, we've got to mount it to something. Now the mounting mechanism for this, there are two areas where you mount something. So on the back of it, we've got two little screw holes and a large screw hole, the standard stud you'd get on a camera tripod. And we've also got the same on the bottom. So two little screws and a stud for a camera tripod. So those where you're going to mount the gimbal. Now in the package you get two of these little adapters that would go into a standard GoPro socket. Yeah, and they are held in place by two screws. This is the second elephant in the room. So with the Allen key provided, when you attach them to it, when you attach these, I mean, granted they're metal rings and stuff, but when you attach them to these holes, you're attaching them with these tiny little screws, and I'm just not confident with what I'm doing that they're going to hold it. I'm sure they would, but I'm just not confident. So that's my second elephant in the room. The Allen key's not great as well. Trying to get it as tight as I could, the Allen key's rounded off within a couple of seconds, so I've had to get one out of the garage. So those are the mountings. Now what I am going to do to mount this to what I need it for would be to use something with a standard camera type tripod screw. So I'm gonna use this, clamp it to a motorbike. So I'm going to be using a clamp like this, and that'll just screw straight into the bottom of this, and then I'll clamp that to my bike. And I took this out a while ago using these, and I was a bit worried as I was riding around that I'd come back and it wouldn't be there. Yeah, so that's what I'll be using to attach it to what I want to attach it to, rather than those bits there. So that's the attachment. Okay, so operation at the moment, it's not on. You can move it, you can do whatever you want, but it's not going to do anything. If you press and hold the button, then it turns on, and it goes into kind of mode 1. So mode 1 takes out some of the rolling effect. So when you're tilting it backwards and forwards, the camera will stay true. If you go left or right with it, so if you roll the camera, for example, it'll follow you. So it's expecting you to go left and right. It's not trying to take that off. It's just trying to take the edge off it. It's not expecting you to go up or down, so it's going to hold that, but it will let you go left or right. You know you're in that mode because you've pressed the button once, and also the light flashes once, and I can show you that. If I just ditch my lights for a second, you'll see that the light's flashing, doing a single flash. Go into the second mode, so you press the button twice, you get a little beep, and the light on the device does two little flashes. What that's doing is that's holding both pan, tilt and roll, so it's going to stop the roll, and if you move the camera, it equalises itself out, so it brings itself back to what was the forward motion. So if you do that, it takes itself back. It's not expecting you to go left or right, so it's going to take it all out. So it should give you forwards all the time. Now if you've mounting it so it's inverted, so this is running vertically rather than horizontally, you do 3 clicks. So 1, 2, 3. You'll see that it'll take it so it's facing forwards. And that is again like mode 1, but if this is vertical. Okay. So those are the 3 methods. Now I'll be using it in its horizontal position in mode 1. So as I'm riding on the bike, I want it to take out the up and down motion from the road, but I want it to allow it to move left and right, to pan left and right. So that's the initial idea. So to finish off, there are a couple of other bits and pieces just to go over. There's you get a piece of foam, I suppose is all I can describe it as, which fits in there and does something. Not sure what it is. I don't know. Does something. There's some other bits and pieces on the side of the gimbal itself. Is a micro USB socket there. You get a couple of cables that you can use with it, so you get a micro USB to video. So there, I think I said it was a phone here before, but there's, you can see the 3 back lines there, so that's a video connection, so that will output analog video, I think. So you could monitor the camera if you've got the camera connected to the gimbal with this cable. So that would be in your GoPro, and the other side would go on the back here. Underneath this this padding here, there's a little indentation there where that socket will go. And obviously, if I refer you back to Elephant in the Room 1, the socket for that badger is in there. But I suspect you'd use that setup if this is mounted somewhere permanently, and you'd have the camera the other around, so the lens this side, so you'd be able to get to the sockets. Yeah, so those are the additional extra bits, as it were, and that's the end of the review.